Hi, I'm John Waters, Managing Director at Abercorn International Search. Over the past 3 decades, we have helped several thousand people with roles within the Asia Pacific IT industry. I am particularly excited today for our St. Patrick's Day edition to welcome a gentleman who have been fortunate enough to help with both roles and some great salespeople for the various teams he has managed. Quite simply, he is one of the most popular figures in the Australian IT industry, and I've had the pleasure of knowing him both personally and professionally for 20 years. He even had the misfortune to play football with me for a few seasons, and I can assure you that this man has more talent in his big toe than I have in my whole body. Joe Arcuri, welcome to Inspiring Careers. So listen, I was saying to Eric and the kids last night, I was very excited to get you in because we've known each other for years. We've always got on particularly well, and I've always admired you. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently because I was across the job that you're currently in. You did mention to me when you were going through the process that you were excited about it. So can you tell our audience about the current job in terms of how it came about?
Yep.
Why you were interested in it, and then we'll analyse the start.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I think about October last year, I was made redundant from my role at Data3.
Yes.
That comes with a lot of mixed emotions.
Yes.
And I posted out on LinkedIn to my network that, I'm no longer at Data3. The results and responses I got were overwhelming. I was very humbled by those. And I had a lot of people through my network that reached out, and some people said they don't even have a role, but they'll create one for me.
Yes.
And a very good friend of mine I've been working with for lots of decades. Most people in the IT industry should know him. He's Ronnie Altit, the CEO of Incentra.
Yes.
I had a chat to Ronnie, and he told me about Zero Networks. I had a little bit of a look at it on the web. It looked like it was a fantastic piece of software. It's in the sweet spot. Security, it's really big on everybody's minds at the moment. The amount of attacks that corporations are getting, the exposure is enormous. And so after looking at the technology, I spoke to some clients and some very smart cookies that I know in the industry from a solution architect point of view. They all kind of endorsed it, and so I agreed to an interview.
Yes.
The guys I met there were fantastic. I love working with Adam and Scott and Benny, Benny's the CEO. Adam runs our global channels, and Scott is my direct manager who runs global sales. They been around for a long time. The startups at NetApp and Paolo and now into Zero, so a lot of experience. Benny was 3 decades or something at Microsoft. Everybody I met in the company was just lovely. They were very down to earth. They were genuine, and I just clicked very well, not only with them but their corporate culture.
Yes.
And so it was really hard because I had a couple other opportunities on the go. And as a startup, there was always concerns, where's it going to go? What's it going to look like? A lot of, Johnny, I've been managing teams for 30 odd years, right?
Yes. Yes.
At the moment as a startup, it's me, myself, and I'm doing everything. And so that you go through that thought process, but the technology and working with the people in at Zero Networks and the culture they have was just too good for me to give up.
Yeah. And I mean, we can talk about the career and all the different wonderful jobs you've had. Tell me this, hey, are you getting traction in the security game? I'm curious because, and I'm not giving me a plug, but I've done that AICD course, which you should do because you're a senior statesman these days. Are you getting good traction in the security game? Because, company directors, for example, all want to hear about this.
Yeah. I guess, yes, we are. I guess the issue at the moment is everybody's talking about security. Everybody's got a solution, and of course, no matter where you're selling data centers or networking or collaboration, everybody says they're the best of the best. One of the things I also looked at is, I've had a grind for the last 15 years, managing big teams, building big teams, but doing what a lot of people out in the market are doing, right? I can remember putting a tender in and there's 15 Cisco partners bidding for the same project, right? It's a race to the bottom of the barrel, right? The guys, Benny and his team and the developers over at Zero Networks have got something very, very unique on their hand. Micro-segmentation has been around for a long time, but it's been extremely complex, extremely difficult, time-consuming, resource-consuming to implement.
Yes.
Benny's developed with his team a very, very strong product that is totally agentless. So it's deployed in less than an hour.
Yes.
It goes out, tags all the assets, learns, monitors, and then automates all policies. And then we can micro-segment within 30 days. Most micro-segmentation projects, well, Gartner will tell you, most micro-segmentation projects of the past will outlast the tenure of the CISO, right? So big problem, right? Our time to ROI was very, very poor, right? Budget blowouts, all that kind of stuff. So we've really got something unique on our hands. And, you know, people will say, oh, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. What I loved when I was researching Xero Networks is you go on their website and they've got customers who say, this sounded too good to be true. They've implemented it and they will stand up as statesmen for us and referees for us. The product just works. We stop lateral movement around the network. So once a cyber attacker is in, they can't move.
Yes.
Right. So we are, all the cybersecurity companies out there are talking about detect and respond. That's all the focus. You want to detect very quickly when you've got an attack and you want to be able to respond quick. Forget detecting, man. Just stop them. And so that's what we're doing. So we're getting massive traction.
Can I just ask you, because I'm enjoying talk. What I love, by the way, having known you for years, you're completely re-energized by this gig, right? I can't claim that you're looking younger because I'd be sycophantic, right? But is it a channel play? I'm curious as to what your sales model is.
Yeah, it is. Just on the re-energized, it's quite funny, right? I have a lot of respect for Richard Dornhart. Worked with him for 7 years at Data3. He's their security practice
director,
lead.
Yeah.
And I had a meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, and I'm there talking all this security jive, and I'm jumping out of my seat, and Richard's just laughing. I said, Rich, what's wrong? And he goes, look at you go. Obviously, when you're managing people, you're not as close to technology as you should be. You're doing different things, unfortunately. A lot of us get stuck into Salesforce and reports and spreadsheets and internal meetings, and I ran a couple of P&Ls, so you're managing costs and a whole bunch of stuff, right? But, to have a meeting with Richard, who's the security practice lead, and they start shooting all this jargon out and telling him how good Xero Networks are, he's just laughing his head off, right? So, and I must have done something wrong because he's very interested and wants to have further chats.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so, I am re-energized. I think, say change is as good as a holiday. But I've had changes doing very similar things. This is very, very different. And to be able to have something that you are very confident in and that you know will add value to what customers are doing, it brings great pride in getting up every morning, getting dressed and going and having the next conversation. Yeah,
no, I'm happy with that. Now, talking about getting up in the morning, I will allude to the fact that my kids would describe me as more Billy Bunter than Brad Pitt. You are one of the sharpest dressed men in the Australian IT game, and I know you look after yourself with your fitness. Tell me about your day, just for our audience.
My wife says I need to join the 5 a.m. club because there's no book that's been written for 3:30 or 4 o'clock. But I do struggle with insomnia. Maybe that's the medical term for it. I don't think I struggle with anything. I just get up early.
Yes.
I've always been an energized bunny. As soon as I wake, I get up. I think the worst thing I can possibly do is when I wake up, it's 3 o'clock, I need 2 more hours because then I wake up and I want to sleep all day. I just lose my momentum. So I get up fairly early. I generally try and close off anything from the day before. I get some emails done, plan my day, head off to the gym.
That gym, is that important to you?
Yeah, look, I think as I'm getting older, and either not only for my own fitness, but for my wife's sake, to keep her happy. Look, health is a key priority. I enjoy the morning walks on the beach with my wife if the weather's not good or if she's got something on. I'll go to the gym. But we are certainly making a very big priority in looking after our health as you get a little bit older. It's harder to bounce back. We've been around long enough now, Johnny, that you never take your health for granted. My wife had a brain aneurysm last year. My daughter was diagnosed with breast cancer. I lost my father-in-law. You don't know what's around the corner.
Yes.
But we shouldn't be naive to the fact that we should do everything we can to try and hold longevity as much as we can. I certainly want to see my grandkids get married and all that kind of stuff. So, health's
that's
very
excellent.
important.
Yeah.
I can't say that my team used to hate waking up in the mornings. It's a bad thing. Getting up early and being active is good for me. It's not good for everybody. My team used to get up in the morning, they had 12 emails in their inboxes as they were wiping the sleep out of their eyes, and it was a running joke, So if they didn't get him in the morning, they knew I was sick. So,
yeah. Now, I'll tell you what I love about that. Your people are Italian originally, yeah?
Yeah, mum and dad migrated from southern Italy.
So whereabouts are they from originally?
A little country town called Grotteria. It's in the mountains of Calabria. And in fact, just recently, I've purchased my grandparents' home where my mother grew up.
Okay.
Because grandparents have passed away, and mum and dad are still here.
Would I be right in interpreting, and I'm making this up as I go along, everybody, the Italian diaspora globally, anybody from Calabria seems to be connected to some of the more colourful characters. Are any of those lads relations of yours then?
I'll take the fifth on that, but I will say I never feel unsafe going back to Italy. I will tell you, just a very funny story. The first time I went there with my wife, we had the car. We'd got off at the airport, loaded the car for our luggage, drove it to the little mountainside. It's about an hour from the airport. And it was late. My auntie came down and met me. And I said, let's get the bags out of the car. She says, no, just leave them there till the morning. It's like, come up and eat. Well, always come up and eat. I said, no, what if someone takes them? She goes, sweetheart, no one's going to touch your car here. Okay, fair enough.
Superb.
Yeah.
And then sort of growing up in Manly, like my impression of a wonderful Italian family, colourful discussions about soccer, love and joy from the family, and good cooking.
Yep. Mum was an exceptional cook. My auntie's an exceptional cook. My mother and her sister migrated. They were 2 of 9 children.
Okay.
So as they were the only 2 that came out, you can assume that we were a very close family.
Yes.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
So the dinner table was 12, 15 people.
Yes.
But I still to this day, unfortunately, my mum and my auntie getting a little bit old and they can't stand on their feet too long, but love their cooking. And very proud that my wife spent some time with my mother to get some of those recipes handed over.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. I'm going to flip it. Let's talk about when you started in the IT game. And I don't know the answer to this. How did you start?
Oh, dearie me. Wanting something better, I guess. Look, I came from working class parents. They gave me strong values and work ethics. They worked 2 or 3 jobs to raise me and my brothers and sisters and give us every opportunity we can. But I was not very good at school and academics. I wanted to live life. I was too busy with
Were
all
you
my
sort
sport.
of a rebel without a cause then? Because you were a good
I had a cause. Might not have been acceptable in society, but I had a cause. No, look, I was always, as most kids do, I was always wanting to grow up too quickly. And unfortunately, as we do, you fall into the trap of wanting to grow up and follow the Joneses. So, I wanted the finer things in life. And, it was, for me, the way I was brought up, it was never going to be spoon-fed to me. I had to work for it. So, funnily enough, I saw an ad for this company I'd never even heard of called Osborne. And they're an IT company, and it was working in their factory. And I thought, well, look, that could give me a leg in to do something because I didn't finish my HSC. I went to year 11, and after about 7 weeks, went to school on my skateboard, handed my books in, and walked away. So,
okay. Yeah.
But so I took this job with Osborne. I worked in their manufacturing plant at Artarmon. Back in those days, most kids won't even get this, but so we used to assemble PCs. Right,
yeah.
Chassis come in, motherboard, hard disk, floppy disk. We used to load the OS, put it all together, send it out as per customer order. So I worked in the manufacturing line for a while. Obviously excelled just at doing that. They moved me into their internal workshop doing repairs. I then went on field service. Believe it or not, most people would not guess that I was ever a techo, but I was doing field service, covering pretty much the whole of the northern beaches and upper North Shore. And you're talking, domestic homes and offices and state governments and corporations, repairing PCs that have failed. From there, someone saw something in me, and I thank him for it very much. And they moved me into sales. I've got the gift of the gab. It kind of came naturally. Being technical, I understood the ins and outs of it, so I could talk very confidently with clients. And that really spurred my sales career. I did exceptionally well for a couple of years there, and they moved me up to Queensland to run the Queensland branch. So you're talking 23, 24 years old. I'm up there. My daughter's now only 2 or 3 years old. And I'm running the branch of about 80 people. And then they wanted to start up in the UK. So they shipped me off to the UK. I was the technical lead, and I remember Tim was doing sales and management.
So you would have went to, I'm going to be facetious and say you would have gone to Old Trafford when they were winning matches, yeah?
Well, when they were winning matches. That's how long ago I was there. Don't rub that in, Johnny. Yeah, but did that. And unfortunately, when I came back, the market got tight. PC industry there was a lot of Dell had just came into the market, but anyone who will remember, Compaq was still around, so they started growing with Penman, who was there. But and from there, that's pretty much they kind of went into liquidation, I believe, and Gateway bought them out, and then I went into what I believe was one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, which was with BCA.
Yes.
And I was there, 8 years. I absolutely loved the people and loved that business.
Well, that's when we first met. And the funny thing is that you did run a very, very large team and a very large business when you were very young.
Yeah.
And that, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What do you think you do? Because, I mean, once again, I'm not being sycophantic, but I am a fan. Everybody I ever talk to about, did you work, if I place people with you, everybody says to me, I loved working for Joe Arcuri. So what did you do as a leader? Yeah. Or what do you still do as a leader? Yeah. That makes people so affectionate towards you?
John, I think, first I think is that they're my personal traits that just go with me everywhere in life. It's not just business. I try to care. I take personal interest in what my work colleagues, and I call them colleagues.
Yes.
Not employees, are going through and are doing. I take great pride in helping people achieve their goals. The amount of people I have promoted, or possibly even realised that that whilst they think they wanted a sales career, that was not best for them, and I've moved them into a product management role, or I've moved them into customer success, and they've thrived and excelled in that. I like to be boots on the ground. I hate sitting in front of spreadsheets and sitting in meaningless meetings for the sake of meetings. I love going and seeing customers. I love going with my team. I love talking about it, doing the analysis after it, and just coaching and helping people grow. I just naturally enjoy that. I do that with my nieces and nephews today who don't even work for me, right? It's just I think we all have an obligation to do that with the young people around us, because I didn't get a lot from my mother and father in that regard, because they worked hard in very separate roles and never worked in offices.
Well, to be fair, and you get that sort of Celtic and Italian background where we all come from blue collar people, if you like. But the point is that they give you a good foundation in terms of what's right and wrong, hey?
Yeah,
and you use that in your corporate life.
Yeah, if you get the work ethic right, and you get some basic principles right, you're in control of your own destiny. And you can be lazy and have a bad attitude and expect everything to come to you, or you can make the best of everything and go out and get it.
Yes.
And when you're managing a team, it is not about you. If I've got 22 people, right? If they're not doing well, I'm in the toilet, right?
Yes.
And so you got to get the team to work well. There's a lot of different dynamics you have to manage. I tell you what, COVID was really challenging. I think I became more of a psychologist than a sales manager. But I was going through it as well, so I understood what the team were going through. But I never signed up to be a psychologist, for Christ's sakes. Look, I think working with people and having a great team, I've always been proud of the retention that I have.
Yes.
I've had very, very long retention of staff. I always have. And I'm not just talking even about in my team, the pre-sales team, solution architects I work with always.
Well, you see, that's interesting because, you had lads and ladies working with you at BCA that then went to Synergy. You had lads working at DXC Connect that then went to Data 3 with you. So it's not just retaining them in the current gig. When you went somewhere, they're chasing you to go and work with you again.
Yeah, and I got a problem at the moment. There's a few people that want to come and work for me.
Yeah, but that's a positive because you're working for a good company, remember?
Look, John, I've experienced, we all have, right? We've all had, I love the sayings. I'm a big LinkedIn all the time, and sometimes there's some posts on there. And there's one that says people don't leave companies, they leave their managers, right? I'm a big advocate of that. I've worked for some really tyrants and people who have taken a little interest and provided a little support for me to be able to provide the support for my team to do their role, right? I get it. I think I learn more from seeing what I don't want to become than seeing what I do want to become.
That's fair enough. Yeah, yeah. What about that in terms of, we've talked about the leadership style, etc. Do you have mentors or sponsors that you have felt helped you in your career, and even though you might still keep in contact with them, for example?
Without doubt. Yeah. Well, as I say, I think what I take into my career is me. I'm raw, and people who work for me know I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very emotional. I'm very authentic, right? So the people in my personal life who are mentors are actually helping mentor me in my career as well. But if we just talk about my career, I'm still very much bouncing things off Greg Beale. I work for Greg at BCA. I love that guy. I wish, if I could wish for one thing in my career now that I'm 55, hopefully this is my last job, but we'll see. I'd love to work for Greg again.
Yes.
Every time Greg's joined a company and sold through channel, and I was in the channel and he came to talk to me about it, I really, I wanted to go and sell his stuff. I just really admire and respect Greg. And I spoke to him about going to Xero. I spoke to him about, I've had some tough times over the last few years. I spoke to him about those. And the other one is Helen Masters. And yes, I'm very much in contact with Helen. I think we're having lunch in a couple of weeks, try and catch up regularly with her. I've got a lot of time and respect for Helen. She was a fantastic leader when I was at Computer Associates. She taught me how to get the balance between the professional and the personal life, how to probably, Helen, sorry, haven't succeeded, taper a little bit more of my personal enthusiasm, and try and get a little bit more patient in my work environment. But they would be the two managers I've worked with the most who, if I have to talk to them, I spoke to Helen about this job as well. I respect them dearly. They've taught me quite a lot.
Well, along the journey, obviously you've had jobs where you've been very senior, very young, you've run big businesses, etc. What about your personal learning then? You've mentioned that you left school. That doesn't mean you're not street smart. It doesn't mean you're not a good operator. But have you done personal development over the years?
Yeah.
Before the MBA, funny enough. What did you do before that?
Look, it's funny, John. I think you need to be a well-balanced person in all of life. I'll give you an example. I know someone, I was related to someone who was academically a genius. They had degrees and masters and doctorates and all sorts of stuff, right? Drop her off one street from her house, she couldn't get home, right? So you need the street smarts, especially in sales. You have to be able to communicate with other people. So it's a balance between street smarts and your academic life. Society would tell us you do the academic life first, and then you go out and experience and get your street smarts. I flipped that on its ass. I got my street smarts a little bit earlier. And then, look, I've been very, very fortunate. It is a shame. I work for a lot of companies who invested in my personal growth, and I'm not talking about running Blue Sheet and Spin back in the day when they were the big thing. But Greg and BCA, I went off and did a finance course for non-financial managers. So I did a lot of those kind of things. They were short courses, nothing longer than 5 days, but they opened my eyes up into the way my customers would see things, the way businesses would run. At school, they don't teach you about a P&L, they don't teach you about profit and loss sheet, or they don't teach you, income statements or anything like that. But quite frankly, as soon as you move out of home and you've got an income and you're paying bills, you're running an income statement, you've got a profit and loss sheet, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You get to the end of the week and all your money's gone. You're wondering why, right? So, I've done a lot of that. I used to read a lot. I still... one of the best books I read very, very, very early on in life was Steve Covey's Thriving on Chaos. That just hit a chord with me, of course. So I read a lot. One of the best books I've read in a long, long time, I'm just about to finish, which is The Diary of a CEO.
Yes.
You want to talk about young and smart. That kid's, I think he's only 31 or something, and he's run billion-dollar companies globally. But the way his message is very clear, very succinct, and very easy to learn. So look, I've done a lot of that, and I guess I was very fortunate that Helen supported me when I was at CA, and they funded my MBA through Macquarie Uni. That was not cheap. But I went in as, because I didn't have my HSC, so I went in as a mature-aged student. I think you could probably drop the mature and just say an aged student. And the funny thing is, because I'd been working, at executive levels within some big companies, and I had exposure to managing teams and working with HR and finance and the like, I really found it easy. I think the practical thing for me came a lot easier, whereas if I would have done an MBA straight after school, I'm pretty sure it would have been a very different scenario for me.
Yes, yeah. Just for our audience, you're working. I don't know the answer to this, but I will ask you. When you're doing an MBA, are you turning up 3 nights a week? Are you turning up? Just give everybody a feel for how much time it takes
when you
up.
do. Well, when I did it, I was 2 nights a week at Macquarie. And then obviously you've got to do all the prep work and hand in your assignments and everything. So you're working at nights as well, and weekends. Sometimes you'd have group assignments to do, so you'd have to get together on the weekend.
Which is good teaming, by the way.
Yeah, that's where you learn
the
teaming. And it was great because some of the people that were in that class were really fresh and straight out of school.
Yes.
No experience. And a couple of people were like me that got in as mature age students, and so you just got a good mixture of different people, and really enjoyed getting together on the weekend and doing stuff. It was kind of the right time for me. My daughter had kind of grown up. My wife herself was studying law remotely from Queensland, so she'd be in the office. So it kind of worked. It was good timing for me.
My view on that, for what it's worth, is that I think it's a wonderful thing for you to do, because it's sort of put a bit of spit and polish on the profile. You and I know you're a good operator, but we live in a world where people buy academic qualifications, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be in my book without boring you.
No. They do. And, look, we all have our opinions on that. As I said, I think it's a balance between, street smarts and academic knowledge. As I said, I think someone who's finished schooling, gone and done it exceptionally well in an MBA, first into the workforce, they still haven't experienced anything.
Yes.
And sometimes applying the theory that to a practical environment is not possible, because the practical environment is already in process, has already got procedures and governance. And so, unless you're driving and influencing, it's very, very different.
Well, the thing there, which is important as well for everybody to know, is that you're running BCA, you're running Synergy Plus, you're running Data 3. You're the guy who has to deliver. There's not 100 people up there telling you what to do. You're actually exposed.
Yep.
So you had a ready-made MBA that you'd done over the period of time. Let me ask you about trends and emerging technologies, etc. I mean, do you, I know you've got a wonderful job now, literally at the bleeding edge, but do you keep an eye on trends in the IT game? Does it interest you?
Yeah, it does. As I said, though, the most precious commodity, John, that we have that you can't buy is time.
Yes.
Right? Yep. You can buy air, you can buy water, you buy gold, you can buy everything, right? You can't buy time, right? It's really difficult when you're in a role where it's quite demanding. I went from 300 emails a day to 3, right? It is difficult, but if you're going to do something and do it deep, then something else has to give, right? And I've just only in the last few years got right into my health and my gym, and I'm enjoying rekindling some relationships that I haven't had time for. I've had a lot of illness in the family, so it is tough to find the time. And people say, you have to find it, you have to make it. But I do generally keep in contact with what's going on, because it's very important when you're talking to a customer to understand what they're going through.
Yes.
I still see it a lot, and one of the biggest mistakes we make is we know our product, we know the solutions that we're addressing, so we want to go in and tell everybody how bloody good we are, right? That's all well and good, but that might not be the pain the customer's going through right now, and it might be something you shelf for 6 months. But what I do love, if I've seen good salespeople do it, they'll recommend solutions to customers' problems that has nothing to do with them, based on a conversation they've had with another customer.
Yes.
So you're actually helping and you're taking an interest. To be able to do that, you have to keep abreast of what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Let me ask you this question, because we're both passionate about the young people. What advice do you have for young people entering our industry now?
First bit of advice, John, is that it is for me. Now I start to sound like a really old guy. You know, remember when we were younger and the old people used to rant, right? It's a little bit disappointing. I think we live in an era of entitlement. You know, I mean, if a 10-year-old kid's going to school and they don't have a mobile phone, their parents are losers, right? And they're letting them down dearly. They're entitled to a mobile phone or things like that. You know, I need the $400 pair of Nike sneakers, right? They're entitled. Nothing's going to come to you. No one's going to spoon feed you, right? You're not entitled to anything. I think having a job is a privilege, right? And you need to take it like that. I think people have to work hard. I think you need to find what fascinates you. You know, I've seen people who want to get into sales because they go, oh, you guys are always going to golf and you're having long lunches and you're traveling the world on sales kickoffs and, you know, end of year club rewards. And, you know, I said, well, if it's that easy, pick up a bag and start selling. No problem. I've never had no one take me up on that offer, by the way. Right? But, you know, hey, if you want to do it, go do it if you really think you can. Find something you're passionate about because it's a hard slug. It's 40, 50 years of your life. You do not want to be doing something you don't enjoy. You don't want to be doing something you're not enthusiastic about and have passion about. Get routine and get structure. But more importantly than anything is do the small things right. Sales isn't about the $10 million order, right? Yeah, what gets you there is about it. And the amount of people who will make a commitment to a customer, I'll get back to you Friday, and they don't. If you can't get back to them Friday, then on Friday tell them, sorry, I haven't got back to you, I'll get back to you Wednesday. Meet your commitments. It's the little things, follow-ups, preempting. You know, don't wait for the customer to ask you for a reference or to, you know, ask you for some more information. You know, drive the conversation. Customers want to be taught. They're like us. There's so much going on in our lives, you can't get across everything. So the best way I think to sell is to teach and preempt and be that little bit better than the rest of the industry. And that little bit better than the rest of the industry does not take a lot, but it shoots you well above the mediocre performers.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting. I mean, you and I suppose I'm a bit older than you, but do you still think FaceTime's important with the customers? I think sometimes people hide behind technology and tools, don't they?
Nah, look, John, it's extremely frustrating. It's not only, you know, the customers, but it's your staff. I think that's a raw nerve, right? So, you know, look, it was great during COVID. We could continue to operate and support our clients and run our businesses. You know, it is a great tool for the right time and the right place. However, my belief is absolutely, you get on a call with a customer and their video's off. I can't see their eyes. I can't see, am I hitting a chord? Are they making a cup of tea? You don't know, right? I think facial expression, body language is all part of selling. You have to be able to read those. You have to know whether the customer's concerned of what you've just said. If they ask you a question, you answer. Are you answering correctly? Are you hitting the right spot? Since I started at Xero, I've made it a mandate that unless absolutely critical to have a Teams call or Zoom or WebEx or whatever you want to call it, I'm doing face-to-faces. So I booked 12 appointments, went down to Melbourne for 3 days. I booked 8 appointments, went up to Queensland for 2 days. In Sydney, I'm demanding face-to-face calls. Yeah, I think if a customer doesn't have time to see you in a face-to-face meeting, move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think I believe it's critically important.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Now, listen, I have enjoyed talking to you immensely. Let me ask you this. What does the future hold for you and your wife? And I know, are you going to spend time in Italy? So what's the balance you're looking for?
No, so Zoe and I sort of got on this journey maybe about 5 years ago, and we're looking at not retiring, what we call rewiring. I think we'll both need to continue to do something. If we just retire,
she might throw you out.
Oh, there's no might there. Yeah, but we'd both be bored. We need to do something, whatever that might be. So we've started our wealth management planning and our retirement planning. We, as I said, we've got my grandparents' house in the south of Italy. My father-in-law has been an astute investor in his younger years, and he's got property in Greece, on a Greek island, Kythera, where Zoe and I actually got married, and we go every year. And so we've got a piece of property there that we're going to build on. So the plan is 4 months a year in Europe in the summer.
Yes.
My brother-in-law, God bless him, has bought a hotel and a ski lodge in Miyako Kogan in Japan, just an hour outside of Nagano. So we go down there and ski in the winter in January. So we'll do that, and then the rest of the time in Australia with the grandkids and the family. So sort of 5 to 6 years out of the country is what we're planning to do when we retire.
Now, this is interesting because, and I'm not going to pontificate about it, but a lot of your quality, who's going to have to keep working, this is a final point I'll make, we have to get you to look at that AICD course. I could see you on a couple of boards, directorships, especially now with that cybersecurity bit.
Yeah.
Do you not think that you'd be a great board member?
So
right?
I think it'd be exceptional to do. I think that's what I mean by rewire, not retire. So sitting on a board, perhaps. Some people watching this might absolutely chuckle with Joe sitting on a board, just because I'm very animated and I do wear my my heart on my sleeve. But I'm opinionated, and but I work well in a team if it's the right kind of team. I've got a lot of experience, and clearly companies I've worked with have seen the value I can bring. But also consulting, John. I'd love to work with companies who are trying to build and grow. Maybe even go around and talk to their junior salespeople and run some sales enablement. There's a plethora of things I can do.
Yes.
Right now, I've got to tell you though, I am so pumped and so geared to get Zero Networks off the ground. I want to get Australia and New Zealand really humming. Given the opportunity to look after APAC, my wife wants to move up into Singapore. So, I think it's beautiful. A whole bunch of new doors have opened that may prolong my rewiring. We'll see how we go.
Oh no, I'm delighted for you. Let me shake your hand. I've enjoyed
talking
to you, Joe.
Well, can I move this now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Johnny, let's keep that in camera.
Always a pleasure.
No, it is a pleasure seeing you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, I've known Joe for 25 years. As I did say, I played soccer with him. He would know more about football in half an hour than I'd know in my own life. But I have to tell you, having placed a lot of people with him, everybody loves working for him. Everybody loves working with him. I think he's one of the most popular and also one of the most flamboyant characters in the Australian IT game. So I'd just like to thank everybody for watching. My name is John Waters, Managing Director at Abercorn International Search. Come and join us in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode of Inspiring Careers.